everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to Thorogood's webcast. The topic for today is applying digital commerce analytics in a consumer goods company. So introductions first. My name is Sushma Sekar and I'm joined by my colleague Bhavik Firke. We're both data and AI consultants at Thorogood. We specialize in data engineering, data science, and data visualization for customers across different sectors, including consumer goods, pharma, healthcare, medical technology, financial services, and real estate. So I'm based out of our office in Singapore, and Bhavik is joining us from our London office today. Our contact details are on the screen, so if you'd like to reach out to us after the webcast, please feel free to do so. You can add us on LinkedIn or email us, and we'll both be very happy to connect with you. So let's look at the agenda for today. I'll start by talking about the rise of digital commerce. I'll share some background and discuss why it's important to be talking about it now. Then I will jump straight into the digital commerce business use case that we will be looking at today. So I'll share an introduction and talk about the data sources and the high-level architecture for the solution that we implemented for one of our customers recently. I will then hand over to Bhavik, who will illustrate the solution through a demo. So we'll be looking at a dashboard that we've built in Power BI, and hopefully that will help everybody understand better how we can analyze digital commerce data to make the most of it and come up with actionable insights for the growth of your brand. I will then summarize the discussion thus far, and before we wrap up, I'll talk a little bit about Thorogood for those who don't know us already and share how we can help if you're interested to do some analytics on digital commerce data or any other type of data in your own organization. So with that, let's get started. So first of all, as more and more interactions are moving online, it's also getting more and more important to really understand our customers and what they need to be able to give them a good experience. And you'll agree with me when I say online shopping has now become the default. So businesses must adapt or they will have to risk falling behind. And when I say digital commerce, it's more than just online sales, right? It encompasses the entire online journey of a customer beyond just their purchases and transactions, starting from customer acquisition to retention. And if we look at it in terms of data, for e-commerce, we've traditionally seen metrics such as number of orders, revenue, and so on. For digital commerce, data is collected across all digital touchpoints. So e-commerce is a key part of digital commerce, but it's not everything. It's one thing to collect all the data. What matters equally or even more is what you choose to do with it. So when you perform analytics on your data, it helps you achieve not just a better understanding of your consumers, but also better sales for your organization. And we'll see in the demo later an example of how that can be done. So we've been talking to many of our customers who are looking to expand their presence in the digital commerce space. What they choose to include in the umbrella of digital commerce activities may vary from customer to customer, but I will share my understanding of it from our experience so far. So we saw a couple of minutes ago how digital commerce is much more than just e-commerce. So e-commerce just be one channel through which customers purchase your products, but there's more to this than what's just obvious. The first part of it is the brand recognition and brand awareness, because the first step to make your customers aware that you and your products exist is to actually advertise it. And advertising online has become the norm now. So tracking social media engagement has also become very important. When you advertise, you can also find means to collect data related to that and calculate some metrics. For example, the number of impressions for your ad or how many people it's reached, how many people are clicking on the ad or interacting with it in other ways. For example, if you're posting on social media, platforms such as Instagram, like you can see how many people are clicking or viewing your posts and stories. And awareness can also happen organically when customers search for products, or you as an organization can choose to invest in search engine optimization, or new customers can get to know your brand through referrals from existing ones as well. And when they're aware of your brand, it brings them a big step closer to you. So they interact with your brand's website, may have reached you through paid or organic search or through marketing campaigns or ads. Sometimes that can be targeted. We all know brands notice when we're interested in a specific kind of product, and we keep getting the same ad on different kinds of platforms, and we end up caving in or at least revisiting the website. And after customers reach the website, they consider your product by actually spending time on your website, understanding important details such as pricing and so on. So Bhavik will show later how tracking understanding all of this will help. And it may not look very obvious, but this is also where you would need to keep in mind things like understanding of your inventory and making sure you have enough stock of what the customer wants to buy, which would again come from understanding customer behavior in combination with past sales. All of this would feed into online sales, but also in some situations, the physical sales as well. So if a customer is considering a product that's listed online, for example, if you take shoes, they may actually want to go try it at the store and end up buying it at the physical store. And also nowadays, there are more AI based aids while shopping that would enhance your shopping experience, both online and physically. For example, when you go shopping for glasses, there are tools that show you how what you've chosen looks on your face. So the experience that the consumers have while shopping is really important, right? Because that's going to contribute to their opinion of your brand and actually also convert them to a customer. And once they become a customer, you would also want them to keep coming back to your product, right? So customer retention is also very important. So it doesn't stop with just fulfilling your customer's order. Actually, even when you're fulfilling the order, it's important to ensure that you're delivering on time or action on returns and exchanges and support them throughout the entire process. And at the end, collect some feedback and keep an eye out for any ratings or reviews that they might leave after their purchase that you can then feed into R&D for further growth of your brand. And you would also want to actively work on developing brand loyalty in the customers. And you can act on it if you see customers who are dormant or disengaging from your brand, which you can track through digital commerce data. So the funnel looks different for different organizations, and I'm sure that you can define what fits under digital commerce umbrella better than us for your own organization. But where we can help is with sourcing this data, transforming it and integrating it, and visualizing it with the latest tools in data and AI, and help bring to you actionable insights and improving your business understanding of digital commerce. Next, I'll go into a quick introduction to the business case. So our customer was a global consumer goods company who owned multiple brands and were selling their products across various channels. They had a lot of digital commerce data that they had collected, but they felt that they were not using it effectively. They had also launched 2 brands in the last few years and wanted to analyze the performance of these brands. There was also a need to analyze the traffic on their website across different sources and understand which source is performing best. They've also come up with an investment strategy for digital commerce and marketing and wanted to understand how that was working. So what data did they have and how did we bring it all together? So obviously they had some sales data, orders, revenue across time, both from internal and external sources like IRI, Nielsen, and so on. And then a few other sources as well. Firstly, product rating across time from sources such as Bazaar Voice, for example. Bazaar Voice is a company that would help brands such as our customers to collect various user-generated content on their e-commerce websites, including ratings. And then traffic data from different channels, basically the number of sessions, transactions, and so on. And from this, you can also calculate the e-commerce conversion rate. And then marketing investment across different channels, shopping data across pages, adding to cart, abandoning from cart, and so on. And then customer reach data, basically the impressions, clicks, and so on. And all of this would be then pulled into the data lake to the bronze layer. And as you can see, we sort of have a medallion architecture with different layers in the data lake, starting with bronze layer where the raw data sits, and silver layer where there's transformed data, and gold layer where data is curated and just in the right format that would be best fitted for consumption via reports and applications downstream. And then we have a data model and then reports and dashboards for visualizing the data built on top of this data model. And for this specific scenario, we used Microsoft Azure as the cloud provider, as the customer already had their internal cloud set up in Azure, and Databricks for transforming the data, and Power BI for the data model and visualization. Just a note, in the demo that you'll see next, to maintain confidentiality, we will only show a mocked up version of the data sets and will not be showing the original customer data sets or reports. Similarly, you may also have different kinds of data in your own organization. So what's important is what you choose to do with this data. So combining your sales data, be it from internal sources or external sources, with digital campaigns data, shopping data, marketing investment data. All of this would give you a good understanding of your consumers' behavior. You will probably understand this better when you see the demo. So I'll hand it over to Bhavik now to share that.
Before we dive into this demo, I'll give some more background. This is something we built for one of our customers, a global consumer goods company. The customer had just launched a couple of new brands, and what they wanted was simple, better visibility into how their digital marketing was performing across the entire customer journey, from awareness to retention. They were looking to answer three main questions: where they were doing well, where they were losing potential customers, and what actions they could take based on the data that they have collected across the entire consumer journey. The dashboard I'm about to walk you through is what we built to help them answer these questions and perform brand performance analytics. While this dashboard uses mock data, the structure and intent reflects real business needs. To illustrate this today, we'll look at two brands, Earthtones and Storm, but the approach and insights can easily scale across your entire portfolio of brands. So the first page, which contains the performance summary, brings together critical metrics from each stage of the funnel to tell the overall story of the brand. So let's dive into the funnel. So any journey starts with awareness. For someone to know your product, they first need to know that it exists. So we started by giving the brand manager visibility into ad impressions and traffic share. This helped them understand whether the brand was been discovered. These metrics offered valuable insights. For instance, in our example, Earthtones has 60% of its traffic from organic sources, which would suggest such strong performance in organic search rankings and brand-led discovery. Once awareness was established, the next focus was on acquisition, how well the brand was pulling people in, were they capturing consumers' attention after being discovered. Here we tracked sessions, average session duration, and click-through rate. If your brand is showing a high click-through rate, like Earthtones does in our example, it indicates that the media campaigns and strategies are effective and resonating with the target audience. After that, we looked at intent and conversion. This is where the consumer is actively evaluating and showing purchase signals. To help the brand manager assess this, we provided them with metrics like add to cart ratio and cart abandonment rate. In our example, you can notice that the add to cart ratio is high, meaning that the product is appealing, but our cart abandonment rate is also significant, close to 40%. This indicates friction. It could be pricing, an unpleasant checkout experience, or even lucrative competitive offers during the checkout. Next comes the fulfillment or the service stage. This is where the purchases happen. To help the brand manager understand how effectively the organization was converting intent into business results, we surfaced metrics including number of orders, average order value, and revenue. While not shown over here, we can also include other metrics including time to fulfillment, which is useful for identifying operational bottlenecks in your organization. And finally, we look at loyalty or retention. This would answer questions like, are the consumers satisfied? Will they return? And metrics like a return rate and product ratings were built to answer these questions. For instance, in our example, the sales are high, the revenue is good, but the product ratings are poor, and that's a red flag. Maybe the expectations of your product doesn't meet the promises of the product. This then becomes a feedback to your service teams. So overall, this funnel summary gives the brand manager a way to evaluate performance across the entire customer journey. Next, we move beyond funnel metrics to understand who was actually buying and how they were discovering the brand. As a brand manager, they wanted to understand what was driving their orders, if their investment in paid ads were actually converting, if the organic traffic was performing well, and how impactful their social campaigns were. We started by showing the order breakdown by source, paid, organic versus social media driven. This is the visual on the left. This view helped the brand manager assess if the ad spend was translating to results or whether organic traffic was doing the heavy lifting. If we look at this breakdown, which is for the Storm brand, we see a heavy reliance on paid sources, which is great for short term, but not as sustainable in the long run. This insight would mean focusing on top part of the funnel, which would include revisiting the content strategy or doing more influencer tie-ups. Next, we showcase the top performing products, which is the visual on top right. This helped the brand managers identify the revenue drivers and entry points to their brands. We can also use this insight to boost the visibility of certain products by bundling them along with your high performing ones. Finally, the brand manager wanted to look at the type of customers placing these orders, are these the new customers or whether the returning loyalists. To showcase this, we displayed the split of customers across months. Different customer splits and volumes would lead to different strategic decisions. For instance, in our example, we see a large number of returning customers across the entire 12 months, which is a great sign of brand stickiness and satisfaction. Maybe the loyalty programs are working, maybe the personalized emails are working. But if you focus on the last few months, not a lot of new customers. This flags a need to revisit strategies for the top part of the funnel. Maybe you do more campaigns targeting the first-time buyers, do more referral programs, or maybe more influencer tie-ups. Next, we focused on traffic and channel performance. The brand manager wanted to understand where the brand traffic came from and how that traffic was converting into transactions. To showcase this, we broke down the traffic into few key channels. This included paid search, which indicated intent-based buying, display and social, which indicated brand awareness and engagement, referral and email, which showcased retention, and finally organic and direct, which demonstrated brand's content strategy and health. Let's look at one of the channel, display ads, for example. For those unfamiliar, display ads are visual promotions like banners or videos shown across websites and apps. In our case, the display channel generated a high amount of sessions. But if you look at the transactions for display, not a lot of transactions. You would use this insight to reevaluate your strategy for the display ads. Just because a channel drives traffic doesn't mean it drives value. And these two visuals help the brand manager spot exactly that. Then we overlaid this data with the marketing investment data, which is the visual on the right. This allowed the brand manager to directly compare what they spent versus what they got across every channel. So going back to the example of display ads, we can see that it's number 3 in terms of the investment. But when we check the transactions, the conversion is pretty low. This is a key insight for shifting investment strategies. So this page helps the brand manager move from intuition-led to data-led marketing decisions and validate their marketing investment strategy. Moving on, in marketing, while analyzing past performance is valuable, the real power lies in looking forward, planning and seeing how changes today, changes in investment strategy, campaigns, or promotions can impact future results. That's where the simulation tool comes in. Instead of only retrospecting historical data, it allows you to mock up different what-if scenarios by adjusting investments across different stages of funnels to see how these changes ripple through the entire digital commerce funnel. This was not offered in the original report we built for our customer, but something that they were highly interested in exploring further. For this demonstration, we are focusing on Storm's metrics over the past year. We have selected one representative metric from each stage of the funnel, but you can easily incorporate others as needed. To help visualize the changes, we are also using a waterfall chart that clearly showcases the movement in numbers. At each funnel stage, we apply an investment multiplier to represent the increase in investment. For example, increasing the awareness investment might mean more social media campaigns, which might lead to high impressions or clicks. However, it's important to note that not every increase in the investment directly translates into revenue. That's why we factor in something called effectiveness, the percentage of incremental investment that would actually convert into clicks, then add to carts, purchases, and then ultimately revenue. This approach allows us to realistically project how incremental marketing investments could impact revenue rather than assuming a simple linear increase. I'll showcase the simulation tool now. Let's assume we increase the investment multiplier for awareness to 1.25. This would mean you're increasing your awareness investment by 25%. Let's do, say, probably 50% increase in acquisition investment. Let's say 25% for conversion. Let's do 75% for service investment. So that would mean I'm multiplying my service investment by 1.75. As you can notice, the numbers across your funnel would change. So if you look at the visual on the bottom, we can see that we have got about 19.3K additional impressions, which would take your impressions higher by 17.5%. And as you go down into the funnel, these numbers would trickle down as well. Let me just zoom into the lower part of the funnel. So if you can see, we have got about additional 1K increase in the clicks, purchases, and then about 100 odd additional add to carts, which ultimately led to about 60% increase in your base revenue. So this tool that you have lets you compare different scenarios to make data-driven decisions on where to invest your marketing budget for maximum impact. And now we'll go back to Sushma, where she would summarize what we have seen so far and also tell you how Thurgood can help you improve or even embark on digital commerce journey in your organization.
So let me summarize what we've seen today. Every customer action is a signal to indicate what's working and what isn't. And when their interactions are online, you can capture them through digital commerce mechanisms. And when you analyze them, you learn their behavior and decode what it might mean. Why would you want to do something like that? As a brand, it's helpful to understand their preferences to improve your digital commerce KPIs. And this would help the business optimize campaigns, product placement on the shelf, your customer retention strategy, and more. And more importantly, it will help you align your investment with brands that perform well and channels that generate most traffic. And what do you gain from this? more actionable insights to start with than you would get from just traditional e-commerce KPIs such as revenue, number of orders, and so on. You will also be able to leverage the advancements in technology and the data and AI space. So the Power BI report that you just saw is one example. And there's a lot more that you can do as well. For example, real-time data analytics on social listening data, application of AI and ML techniques. And the value lies in bringing together internal and external data, such as sales, marketing data, and other data across various digital touch points. So you really understand the demand and the customer preferences better and have a more holistic picture by looking at the entire digital commerce funnel. So that means you can work on giving your customers a better shopping experience overall and grow your brands in more ways than you would have previously imagined. And we saw an example of that in the customer use case just now. And finally, before we wrap up, just a little bit about Thorogood and who we are and what we do for those of you who don't know us already. So we're a global independent data and AI consulting organization with offices in UK, Singapore, US, India, and Brazil. So our expertise lies in bringing together our analytics knowledge, technology skill set, and business domain understanding to help our customers across a full range of data and AI services, starting from application design and development all the way to application maintenance and support, including training, strategy solutions, and roadmaps. We work with a number of large customers. You can see some examples on the screen. We focus predominantly in the consumer goods, pharma and healthcare, and financial services sectors, but we have experience working with companies in other domains too. We're a technology independent consulting firm in the sense that we're not tied to one specific technology. And so we partner with leaders and many large technology vendors in the data and AI space, such as AWS, Microsoft, Google Cloud, Databricks, and more. And with that, we come to the end of this webcast. So if you would like to set up something similar for your own organization, bring together data across multiple sources and perform analytics, build dashboards, or if you have use cases where you'd like to apply AI and machine learning, we'd be very happy to help. So please reach out to Bhavik or myself or anyone else you might already know in Thorogood. I'll leave our contact details up. So I hope you enjoyed our session today and found it useful. Thank you for joining and have a great rest of your day.